Okay, mic's working. Maestro. Ooh, whatever track is playing, very quiet. Oh, it's so quiet it's muted. That would be why. Ooh, there it is. There's a ding. Oh, listen to that. No, we're gonna try something else. Why is everything like dead? There! A little bit of life to that track. Jeez. There we go. Just want a little life. This is gonna be a lot we're talking about here. Okay. Give me a second, folks, okay? Just a second. Yeah, I guess that's everything. Oh, I didn't even. I'm behind. I'm behind on things. This was kind of spur of the moment. It's part of the reason why. Kinda. It was very spur of the moment. Oh, yeah. Forgot. I gotta fix that too. Look how beautiful that looks, right? Just perfectly overlaid. It's exactly what it should look like. Just a sec. So I did a IronVerse quickie earlier, and
Scott K.
I had to change
said,
the filter
howdy.
there. Howdy, 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 howdy. This one, flows. We should be back to normal. There we go. Yeah, did an IronVerse quickie and tried to have a full screen thing, so when I showed pages and the cover and stuff, you folks could really see it. So that's the remnants you were seeing there. Oh, all right. This track's a little much. Skip track. Skip track? Okay. He's listening. He's trying. He's trying. All right, folks. This one, spur of the moment. I'm not all that set up for it. I'm in super casual clothes. We're just going to hang out and talk about something for a bit. I did earlier streams if you want more.
Scott K.
Ooh.
said, I am due 2 of those now.
Dos of those. So, title of the stream. I don't know why the maestro stopped. But, story structure. Howdy. Ooh,
David
there's another
Schwinn
howdy. It's working.
Said, howdy.
Yes, it's working. The standard is appearing. That's great. Give me a different track, though. It's like a spooky track. Give me something. It's just not playing again. Music's being weird today, or at least now. Not all day today. That's alright, though. It's like super quiet. That's part of it. Let's go with this. This is weird, just weird enough to say. Alright. Alright, so story structure, limits of time. I'm going to be talking about a few things. One of the topics that came up on an earlier stream I did today. While I was buying for time, hoping folks would come in to listen to the main topic, which actually, it was a great stream. I really appreciated what we were able to hit and talk about. But this one was big. This one I've been mulling on for a while, and the more I consume and read what I enjoy and what I want to read and consume, the more I'm understanding this, and the more I need to work towards that as a structure instead of what I've been trying to do for the last few years. So we'll talk about that. It's not any like huge crazy thing. Honestly, it's not even like a major left turn. It's taking what I was originally going to do and pushing the timeline forward, and cutting out what essentially has been shown to me to be the fat. And that's because of the limits of time. most of the works. That's pretty loud. I should be louder than this, but this is pretty loud in my ear. So I don't know how it's working with you folks. But most of the works I really enjoy are they may follow a central protagonist, like most works do, but they leave themselves room to explore other things, which my own work, the original idea for it and the idea I've been working on for years does allow that, but it's in a form which requires much greater energy to manifest. It's not efficient. And as time ticks on, really realizing that efficiency is kind of what needs to happen. Because without it, you spend so much that it's not good for your mental health, let alone your creative journey. So there's a lot of different ways about this. So we'll talk about the original thing I wanted to do, the structure that still would be my optimal choice had that energy to support it existed, or had been able to be made, right? And that is a imprint with multiple titles working towards one larger title, a cohesive team book, more of a like a Marvel Comics working towards the Avengers kind of deal, right? And that's fine if you have the time, resources, energy, and talents of a persistent comic book company. If you're dealing in the trenches of indie, a little different. It's possible. We're seeing Iconic Comics working towards it, and they work their asses off. And they're not working towards team books, they're doing crossover events instead, which is a team book, but it's a more singular idea that will then branch off again and allow the creative teams to go back to what they're doing. That has always kind of been the idea with IronVerse Comics, is things like that. But at the timeline we are right now, at the rate we're moving, that is 15, 20 years away. And I don't think this idea, this IP, survives 15, 20 years. So, I've been going back to the drawing book. I've been diving and reading and learning what I can from that which I thoroughly enjoy in the medium myself. And that's what I said earlier. I came to the conclusion is that instead of a central figure literally being the title of the book as well as the structure, right, basically having to revolve around him, or else it being slightly dishonest, an evolution, and it would be this. It's not like a break and then we're taking a hard right. No. I'd like to treat these first two arcs, and I'd still like to finish this second arc instead of just going to this other idea. Treating this arc like the Black Swordsman arc in Berserk, like the East Blue arc in One Piece, in that what it did was establish your protagonist and start the journey. With Berserk, it as soon as it finishes the Black Swordman arc and it has its ideas on the table, it takes a radical shift in time and decides to start something completely different so that you can understand how it got to that arc, how Guts became the Black Swordsman. And the structure of Berserk allowed that. It wasn't called Guts the Black Swordsman, right? It wasn't stuck in that rut. Jack, I wanted it to be, again, you know, like you had Thor, you have Iron Man, you have Captain America, and then Avengers. That was my original idea. We would build towards a collective ship, and we build towards a galactic adventure. Laying down enough character, enough world building, and enough backstory and history to make that adventure that much grander, right? to allow ripples and such to occur. That can be done other ways. It could be done more efficient ways. It can be done in ways that can be achieved by a single creator or a single creative team. That being said, the multi-title nature of IronVerse Comics is not, in my mind, not in question. Right now we have two wonderful creators attached and making some very cool stuff. But the future of Jack, I said it earlier, and it's kind of his nature as a character. It's about time for a rebirth. Now, this rebirth could be, if things work out on many other fronts, particularly the business fronts, it could be in about 2 years. If they don't work out on multiple business fronts, it could happen as soon as a year, basically after number 4 is released.
David Schmeling said, "Does it mean like an anchor character that will cross plenty of different storylines along the way as the myth arc is unwrapping? One Piece method?"
Something like that. Something closer to that. Like even Berserk takes time to explore other characters, explore the backgrounds, either from Guts' perspective or from their own perspective. Which, you know, with Jack, it being the title and being how I have built that title is just, it's possible, but it would still be Jack, if you know what I mean. Like I could deviate as I did in issue number 1 through different times and different lives, but it's still Jack. So you're still building this one character. Whereas through the journey of releasing these titles and through learning like how to create comics, again, it is very inefficient to spread out the ideas among multiple titles that are working towards the same thing. Super inefficient. It works great if you're a large-scale company. It works excellent as a large-scale company.
Scott K. said, "I see some brainstorming on the horizon."
So much stroming. I know what you mean, storming. So I've been in a reading phase. That's why I spoke earlier too. I've just been tearing through things, reading and trying to learn. And I always have. That's how I always approach my comic reading since I became a creator. So what can I learn from this? What am I enjoying? What is it doing that I can emulate, improve, or reiterate in my own unique way? Because I believe it's a strong message that resonated with me. And as I've done that, you know, I've seen continuously what I've done with Jack that is
Neostar Productions
inefficient.
said, "The brilliant star that shines through the night. The speeding blur that confounds crime. Reserman stands before you."
So I'm talking about
giving peace sign, smiling face with sunglasses.
I don't have sunglasses. That's like the first idea, right? But let's talk about it overall. And I spoke a little bit about it. You know, there's different types of story structures, and there's limits of time.
Scott K. said, "Howdy Neostar."
So there are limited, you know, personally I have a limited amount of time. I think that's also why Oda, same day they announced they're continuing Berserk with his best friend and the same assistants who are doing most of the art the last couple volumes. Same day Oda announces that he is pushing his timetable up. I don't know if something's up with Oda, if Oda's done, but how it was phrased is literally, I need to restructure the story to finish it as soon as possible. Now, I don't know what that means. To me, it communicates that he had a lot longer and a lot more he wanted to say, but something is pushing him forward on it. With One Piece, again, it was arc after arc after arc, character arc after character arc after character arc, all building towards ideas of found family, ideas of that found family taking on the world, taking on ideals, taking on evil. Wonderful structures done again and again and again and again. And
David
that's
Schmeling said, "I think Oda doesn't want to get stuck in a story branching out too much."
when you've done over 1,000 chapters, one a week for 30 years, yeah, like I don't blame him. However, how it was phrased, the announcement again is that as soon as possible. It's very weird to me. It feels like that wasn't exactly what he wanted, but it's something that he now feels he needs to do, which is a trip. And it was another kind of spur. I was like, wow, even Oda's like, you know what? Maybe it's time, which is a trip. Here we go. I'm waiting for Robo Lady.
Neostar Productions said, "Yeah, I've been trying to stay fairly linear with Reserman's story and world. Right now, I'm trying to set up Reserman's Rogues Gallery, the Skull Gang." David Schmeling said, "He's not getting younger either, and grinds a lot for his work." Neostar Productions said, "Yo, at Scott K." Neostar Productions said, "Yo, Cody."
Alright, so, as he said, yeah, he's not getting, exactly. And that might be part of it. He's been grinding at this for 30 years, 30 years and change. There's a good chance that it is finally, as it catches up to most mangaka, it's catching up to him, right?
Neostar Productions said, "Indeed, David."
So, the problem is I have less time and less resources, less opportunity than these folks. Nonetheless, I have a story I also feel I need to tell. And the amount of time it would take to tell that story, the actual full story, in the way I have it structured right now, is not something I could do. And I've been thinking on it and been trying it for, I gave it a college try. It's been about 5 years. So, again, what I'd like to do is get to issue 6 and allow issue 5 to do what I need it to do, which is the most important message in Jack I could convey. And issue 6 would be the transitionary issue. That's what I'd like to do. That being said, I have no idea what's going to go. And part of why I want to finish this series earlier than I thought, finish the series, it's not the story, it's the series, earlier than I thought, is because how I've been doing it is very naive and super inefficient. It's not going to get my job done. Now, I built Jack since the beginning to be a IP that could be handed forward. It's not one with this definitive conclusion. Even our conclusion that we have planned for all of IronVerse Comics is
David Schmeling
not definitive.
said,
it finishes.
"I feel exactly the same.
But there's just not enough time. Howdy, Jake.
Concha said,
Howdy, brother.
"Hey, Code."
Cheers. We're talking about story structure and the limits of time, and my mulling that I've been doing over reading some excellent works over the last month and a half. Rereading quite a few, re-experiencing 2 of them because I know them better as anime. But that's the thing. Is there is just I have less resources, I have less time, and I certainly have less talent.
Jake Concha said, "I hear ye."
So, in that, again, I'm planning to, and I'll be announcing it a couple different places, end Jack Irons the Steel Cowboy after issue number 6, possibly earlier, depending on a few situations. I had originally, I might have ended the series at issue 3, but issue 4 got funded, right? Thank you so very much. So I get to tell that story. And again, issue 5 is the most important story I can tell with this character in its current form. And then issue 6 can allow me to transition to something, I think, greater and far more efficient. It's going to take time for me to structure this idea properly so that it will encompass everything that myself and our team is working for and working to say. That includes you, Scott. So as you said, brainstorming session is indeed going to come up. And the point of it will be to take this first boon that we were granted and gifted with this series and revitalize it into something much bigger in terms of pressure pound per inch, right? Something that can cram a lot more in a smaller space in a more efficient, powerful way, such as those series I've mentioned multiple times now. Because again, there's just not enough time. And it doesn't change the nature of Jack. It doesn't change the nature of IronVerse Comics or what we're doing. What it does is it changes and adapts how it interacts with the world around it. And I think that is what I've been trying to look for the last few years. I've been blessed with this work and with what I've been able to accomplish. And I feel like this particular expression of it is reaching
Scott K.
the pinnacle it can
said,
reach.
I'm going to get more work.
Quite possibly, brother.
Jake Concha said, you've already started something great, buddy.
Thank you, Jake.
Neostar Productions said, same here. I'm only able to get so much done in a day.
So imagine, and so this is a thought exercise and one that I went through. Imagine, and I mentioned it with Berserk, right? If it was called Guts the Black Swordsman, it would have been a very different story. And that's just simply because when you title something over the main character, then it definitively
Scott K.
seeks to...
said,
it's a very Western way
yes,
of doing
come
it.
at me, bro.
It's a very Western way of doing it. You know, you get Superman, you get Iron Man, you get Batman. You get those very definitive and you know what you're experiencing. They can throw in other characters. They can try and switch out the mantles and all of that, but it ends up feeling less genuine at the end of the day. And I think that's what's been part of what's been creeping into my work. And again, issue number 5 should be the most genuine fucking thing I've ever written. I'm very scared of that script, but I know what I need to do with it. We'll see if I can pull it off. But issue 6, if I can pull that off as a transitionary title and move into what I think will be the thing that needs to be done with this work, I think everything will benefit from it. It'll have a foundation, but it will with Jack and with our other titles, but it will also have the freeing benefit of a more vague title and goal. With Jack was to explore Jack. He's a very, very big character in terms of potential. And again, that's not going anywhere. I'm not erasing the board, say. And I'm not taking a hard right away. What I'm planning to do is integrate and adapt. Because again, I think a rebirth, a revitalization, a phoenix kind of deal is not only on brand with our work, but is necessary at this point. We'll see how issue number 4 hits. We'll see what the business end evolves over the next couple years. My hope is, again, I would like to have this transition hit in the next 2 years. If we can do it sooner, fucking A, I'll do it sooner. If we have to do it right after issue number 4, it's gonna be jarring. So my hope is I can do it, given some time. God, I don't know what's up with my eyebrow today. Like I cut it or something, and it just keeps showing up like it's like I got this big scar there, and I don't. Yeah, I don't know what's up with that.
Jake Concha said,
It's the rise of the
just
Phoenix.
like Tenacious D. Browski.
That's a Browski. I like that. That's a decent album. It's decent. Their jazz one I wasn't a big fan of, but Rise of the Phoenix is pretty good. Nothing like the Pick of Destiny, but Rise of the Phoenix is pretty good. A lot of fun songs on that. That's the idea. It didn't really work out that well for Tenacious D, to be fair. It did not revitalize their career like they wanted it to. But man, we did get some jams. We got some jams. But that's the thought process.
Inkfinity Comics said, hey Cody bro, smiley face, did you watch the Sandman trailer?
Nope.
If not, please watch it now with us and tell us what why think.
Jake
Concha said, true. Jake Concha
We'll let Robot Lady
said,
finish.
LMAO.
Teaches me patience.
Infinity Comics said, please see. I'm a huge fan 3.
I can, but I'm gonna tell you I have nothing to say. Like, I don't know Sandman. I know nothing about it. I just know the terrible relationship between Neil Gaiman and Sam Keith between the first couple issues. So I won't have really much to say on it. I don't know the characterizations. I know some of the character designs. Like, I'm not going to be able to say anything but, or like how it's presented could be real bad, or it could seem interesting, but I'm not going to have any investment in it. I'm happy to do that. We've got time, and then I can go back to the main point of this, but telling you it's not going to be
Infinity Comics
very informative. I don't know Sandman.
It would make me so happy.
All right.
Jake Concha.
I'm here
said,
to please.
Are we gonna watch it too?
Yes. Trailer 2, I'm guessing. You said the new Sandman trailer. This one's 8 seconds longer than the other one, so hopefully that is the definitive version. All right, Maestro. Maestro. Okay, there he goes. Then let me turn the loop off.
Infinity Comics said, yeah.
Yeah, I guess spoilers for that. I don't know why spoilers came up,
Jake
but for
Concha
sure.
said, holla at cha boy I.
Holla at cha boy, indeed. Display capture. Here we go. I'll give it a go, folks. But again, I don't have much investment, so unless it looks like it's really bad, I'm not gonna be able to say much. Hopefully, it looks good. I'm hopeful for folks because I know it's a very beloved series. It's still open on this one. Where is it? Sorry, band leader, robo band leader need to stop. Do I have desktop audio on? Yes. So you folks should hear this. I should hear it. We should be good. Let's let it roll. Let's see. I gotta say something right away. So this bugs me. Right. God, where was it? It was the text on screen. Like right now, it just feels kind of generic fantasy Neil Gaiman work. Was it before that? Oh, it's right here. That right there. They were not graphic novels. They were fucking comic books. They were single issues. But no, God forbid you call a work like this a comic book. It blows my mind. Blows my mind because it was not a series of graphic novels. Eventually it was, but it was single issues through Vertigo collected in trade paperbacks. That bothers the hell out of me.
Comics said,
God forbid you call them a comic book. This is too serious. Nobody will take it serious if you call it a comic book. Not like comic book movies are making the most money of any film ever in history. No. Graphic novels. They're for adults. They were for adults. They were adult comic books. Okay, sorry, but that's what stands out to me so far. The rest of this is kind of, I don't know this character. I can't be hyped on anybody that's on screen, right? From the image, he looks fine. He looks like a Morpheus, like from what I've seen. But again, I have no investment. But that I have investment in, and it bothered me quite a bit.
K said, it's like H.
Ant-Man fan, maybe it looks great. I know nothing. Sorry. But yeah, the graphic novel bit, that bothers the hell out of me. Be proud of your fucking history, man. These were funny books that you made into something legendary. Remind people that funny books can be that. It doesn't have to be a graphic novel. Maybe. Gaiman's work can be very, very, very pretentious.
Said, I do think you would enjoy the show.
I could. I don't know. Again, Gaiman, like, out of the new wave of British comic writers, Ennis is by far my favorite. Morrison has a couple works that I just find absolute masterpieces. Moore, he's very pretentious as well, but he has a reason for his pretension, and I think Gaiman does too. It's just a different flavor for me. It doesn't soak me in right away. But this is none of those. This is Hollywood, right? So I really don't know.
Jake Concha said, When I was a kid, the local library had volumes and volumes of those Sandman graphic novels.
Yeah, it's a
Ink
very
Vanity
well-respected
Comics
series. It's beloved.
said, yes, there is an understanding, or better yet a misunderstanding, that comic books are for kids and graphic novels for adults. Ahaha, it's BS. I know.
That's what bothers
Jake
me.
Concha
It's all sequential art.
said, I never read them.
That's it. From what I've heard, that's too bad. Again, I started Sandman, but the creative differences between Sam Keith and Neil Gaiman on the first couple issues are so
David Schmeling
blatant
said,
that I couldn't get past it.
comic book in my language, German, refers to a comic with any amount of pages in any age group. Graphic novel is a modern term here.
Yep, and so with manga as well, they'll use manga as comics, even though most of them are, they refer to it as comic strips as well, are manga. It's just sequential art to them, and so you'll see a lot of translations. I've never seen a translation for a tankobon be
Jake
graphic
Concha
novel.
said, I was more interested in the gory comics like Preacher.
Again, Ennis.
Neostar Productions.
I'm more of an Ennis guy too than Gaiman.
Said, BRB.
Alrighty.
Jake Concha said, that was a long time ago. Scott K said, it's a marketing tool.
Oh yeah, it's a big marketing tool. Again, this is for people who don't have any investment in comics, in sequential artistry. They're trying to sell them. Oh well, it's a graphic novel. Graphic novels are prestigious.
Gerasimlatovsk said, Cody is a poop.
Such a poop. Big old poop. Yeah, so that's my thoughts. I mean, I'm like you, check it out. I don't think it'll have the same dissonance of me trying to read Sandman again from the start, where I could feel Sam Keith hated the gig in every panel. I can tell that Neil Gaiman was tolerating at best Sam Keith's art. That dissonance, that writer-artist slamming, makes it very hard for me to read Sandman, and I like reading everything from the beginning. But I know after Sam Keith, once they got artists that actually could work with Gaiman and how Gaiman works, wonderful. I've heard nothing but praise for Sandman. I've got a buddy who won't shut up about it. He fucking adores it. But for me, trying to get past those first couple issues, it's heart-wrenching. Because I know the potential Keith could have brought to the series. And just how everyone treated Keith throughout his whole career. It's just how Keith treated Keith throughout his whole career also is a big one. But this looks interesting. It doesn't look terrible. It looks better than basically any of the Disney Plus Marvel shows, like significantly better. So yeah, it could be good. Could be good. I have no idea. I'm doubtful that it will do justice to the massive collection of comics that encompass the Sandman lore and Sandman universe in DC and Vertigo. But there you go.
Infinity Comics said, apparently the audiobook sold faster than Harry Potter.
Yeah.
That's when they knew they had an audience for this Netflix show. So using the graphic novel word was a better strategy for that reason, I think.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not denying that it's the right choice. I'm just pissed that we live in an environment that it is the right choice. And that any opportunity in which to change that perspective or attempt to change that perspective is frowned upon. It's like taking a swing and making sure that it won't do as good. That sucks.
Infinity Comics.
Just because it's what needs. Yeah, exactly.
I agree with you though.
Just because it's what's needed and what's practical doesn't mean it's what's right, in my opinion, right? And that's okay. It doesn't have to always do what's right. But again, it looks fine. It looks fine. Again, it looks significantly better than any of the Disney Plus Marvel stuff. So I know that's not saying much depending on your perspective, but maybe it is. I'm interested. We'll see. Again, Sandman, very prestigious work, and I'm glad it's getting adapted. Gaiman gets a lot of this stuff, though. There's a lot of stories that could have been told. But he's also a writer, right? He's an author, so they wanna play.
Said, OMG, is that Aleandro? Inkfinity
yes, it is.
Comics said, "Thank you for watching that."
Yeah, I don't usually do any kind of trailer reactions. I don't. I keep my ear to the ground and I listen. I don't tend to engage with anything going on in the mainstream, unless it's something that's like important to me. Like earlier today on the stream, I talked about the massive manga shortage that they're trying to convince people will end by 2024, and it's not gonna end. And the fact that manga is now becoming a massive collector item, very much like the speculator boom of the 90s, and it's getting spooky to be able to get a hold of anything that you'd like. It's kind of crazy, but yeah, it's again looks interesting. Back to the topic of story structure and limited time. So Gaiman, we'll talk about Gaiman and Sandman. That went on for a very long time. In fact, it is still going on as well, as far as I'm aware, with his own universe imprint under DC Black Label, which was their attempt to
David
somehow
Schmeling
salvage Vertigo
said,
after God.
"When I think about the limits of time in storytelling, I might have to cut out or shorten some sections in my story. Via illustrations, I could achieve that."
That's the point of sequential art. I did my first IronVerse Quickie for a long time on Elixir, The Last Days of Death. This comic right here. And if you folks have 20 minutes and you're interested, it's the first Quickie I did for a while on this. Beautiful cover, wonderful artwork. And
Inkfinity Comics
I'm very impressed.
said, "I was in London last week. Half the Forbidden Planet shop has been turned into manga."
So, even then, right, that's the
Jake
thing.
Comcha
They can't print it.
said, "London."
London, indeed. He is, we've got a Brit in our midst. So that's the thing with manga right now is English translations of manga are so modern works like My Hero Academia, Chainsaw Man, Demon Slayer, they can't keep on the shelves, but they're able to
Jake
print
Comcha
a ton of them.
said, "I just watched Paddington W. Me Nephew."
So that's where they're putting all their printer focus since the pandemic. A bunch of printers shut down, a bunch consolidated.
Inkfinity Comics
He's
said,
Italian. Well, there you go.
"I live in the UK, but I'm Italian. I moved here 9 years ago."
Okay, about a decade. I consider you nearly a Brit, but I don't know what the Brits would say. But gotcha. I got you. So again, I did a whole stream on this earlier. If you want to hear me talk about Manga Shortage, go check out that stream because it is insane. Manga sales and demand grew like 1,000% between 2019 and 2021, and yet printing companies shut down in record numbers, and they're also being hit by the paper shortages. Basically, the entire physical publishing infrastructure is breaking down, and even right now, Marvel's had to delay a bunch of titles because they can't get them printed. So it's getting bad. If you want your physical media, like get a hold of it now because I think there's going to be a jarring transition to digital, where just like they're trying to do the jarring transition to electric vehicles, right? It's going to be a very similar concept here for a good chunk of time.
Verisimilitudsk said, "Yeah, Inkfinity almost did a comic through Indiegogo. Super cool concept and art."
Oh, I'm sure he did. Wonderful
Jake
chat. We had a chat during the issue
said,
4 campaign. That's how I met the individual. It was a lot of fun.
It's OB the global level. Echoed.
Oh yeah. I went on. So we have a stream on that if you folks are interested, and I talk about a lot of other cool stuff. But the focus of this one again was story structure and my learning that I have been terribly inefficient with my planning of this very important work I want to do. It's important to me. I don't mean it's important to everybody. It might be important to some folks, but to me, right? And that I've been spinning my wheels because of those choices, and that it's the time for a rebirth on that, and I'd very much like to do that.
Jake Comcha said, "I never knew." David Schmeling said, "In terms of Kaiju 8, the mangaka might be hit with a lack of time. Some chapters were rushed, as if he tried to reach his myth arc as fast as possible." Inkfinity Comics said, I appreciate that verisimilitude. Columns of Creation is coming back to Indiegogo in the summer of 2023.
Nice. So Kaiju 8, yeah, that happens, right? Lack of time. That's very much.
Verisimilitude.
Okay, I'm gonna have to
Said,
pause these because I can't get a thought in.
Heck
You
yes,
guys are so
dude.
active.
I'm excited for Columns of Creation's return.
All right, so just a second, I'm gonna mute you folks, but I will unmute in a second. Eventually, this is how it's gonna have to be anyway. Once I get like this amount of viewers in it, right? So let me just. Oh, I can pause it. Perfect. That's all I want. All right, so I will still be reading chat. We'll unpause them, and I think then we'll about the lady will read them. On that, Kaiju 8, again, the mangaka. So I talked about Tuki, book 2, which I read last night. And holy heck, did that have a similar feeling. It was the most jarring ending of a comic I've ever read. Where it's like all this build up, you're ready to go on the adventure. How I explained it, the most efficient way I explained it in the stream was that it was if the Fellowship had been gathered, and then you get one chapter, and the ring is delivered halfway through that chapter, and then there's like no resolution. The rest of it is just that was the first time I saw that. It's Jeff Smith, wonderful cartoonist, one of the greatest fucking out there in my opinion. Bone is a masterwork. Tuki was really good. Like, I fucking loved it. And then I think the series and the crowdfunding, was his first crowdfunding effort, just did not produce the results that he wanted, and then like his ability to create the books was not as quick as he wanted, so he had to adapt. I think that's what happened. I think Tuki was planned to be a much longer running series that he then ended suddenly because of practicality. That's what it feels like. So I can see that happening with Kaiju 8. And I feel that might happen with One Piece right now as well. Just be glad, nothing dirty. Well, yeah, I'm nice about that. Check out Bone if you get a chance. It's wonderful. All ages, wonderful stuff. Tuki's good. I really like Tuki. I love the character. It's just boom, end. They literally climb over a hill and it's over. And you're thinking, oh, that hill's like their first hill on their big grand adventure, or we get a chapter 2 more. Nope, just over. Just fucking over. And so that hurt, because I love Jeff Smith and his work. He's been supportive of my work in the past. It's been very cool. I like that cat. He got his bones in indie comics back when you couldn't really. Cartoon Books, his label, his imprint. It was built on just calling every comic shop in the country and seeing if they would carry his all ages comic. And then eventually Scholastic and Image picked it up, and that's how we got Bone as like a phenomenon. Because he did the footwork back when it was much harder to do the footwork than it is today. I did not finish Elden Ring. Dollar Coins finished Elden Ring. I haven't been playing video games. I've been reading. I've read, God, like, between all the series, I'm reading probably about 200 chapters of manga in the last week and a half. So I have not gone through that. There's a lot of spoilers in Elden Ring. I've been spoiled through Dollar Coins playthroughs again and again. Bothered me. But he helped me beat parts of it. I helped him beat parts, so it was part of the shared journey. So I appreciated it. But yeah, I got spoiled a bunch. It kind of sucks. Elden Ring's got some cool reveals that I wish weren't spoiled. So yeah, don't worry, Jake. Just don't watch the Elden Ring videos on my channel. No worries. Anywho, so story structure is like super important on the kinds of stories that I like to read. This includes comics I read. I've been reading manga like crazy because I prefer its pacing, I prefer its communication, I prefer the confidence that the mangaka are able to communicate through their choices per panel. Basically, this is the exact, and I did a quickie on it, so I recommend watching it. The presentation of this, it was a unique set of what I'm going to call mistakes. But with art, I don't think there really are mistakes. There's just learning, right? As long as you don't repeat them. This one, it was between 9 and 13 panels every page. It was, the word I kept using was fragmented. So each panel would have a sentence or a word bubble. but there'd be 9 or 13 of them. So it made the entire comic near incomprehensible. Really, first time I came across that particular set of mistakes, which is really nice to see in indie. I mean, it's nice to see new mistakes instead of just bad editorial. Right? This wasn't it didn't have an editor credit. It had an edits credit, which makes me feel more like they made sure that there was no spelling errors and stuff. Right? That's what that made me feel like. If it had an editor credit, man, I would slap that editor. Like, you should have looked at this script. It said 9 panels every page. Holy shit! No, there's no room for the reader to breathe. There's no room for them to comprehend what's going on. What are you doing? So that's what I did in that video. So watch the IronVerse Quickies if you want to hear what I would have said if I was the editor of that book. And he took it on the chin very nicely, which is good. That's why I do the Quickies, is so people can get a kind of a free editorial overview of their indie work from somebody who gives a shit about the indie comic space, when some editors I've come across don't give a shit. They just like having their names on books. And nothing bothers me more. Okay. So let me see what happens with Robo Lady. If she'll start from where she stops, or if she starts from new stuff.
Verisimilitudsk said.
Okay, it starts from where it was.
Just be glad we said nothing dirty.
So we're just going to let Robo Lady do that. I'm going to take a
Kitty
shot, and then I'll catch up and
said.
answer these questions.
Sounds super anticlimactic.
Salud, amigos.
Infinity Comics said. I always wanted to read Bone. Jake Concha said. But I'd give it a REA.
Give it a read.
Infinity Comics said. Did you finish Elden Ring?
Not yet. I
What
got about
ending, if
30
so?
hours, if I heard Dog
Jake
Coins correctly,
Concha
left.
said. No spoilers for Elden Ring,
No
please.
spoilers. No spoilers. Really fun
Jake
game.
Concha
Really love it. I'm in love with
said.
Elden Ring.
Haha, okay. Infinity
Here we go.
Comics
This one. And I'll pause
said.
it.
Do you believe it's possible to be a great writer without
Somebody
reading?
asked this.
Some of my peers have never read a comic in their lives, yet are studying the medium.
Okay, so first off, I think that's impossible. Not the great writer without reading. I think that there's totally virtuosos, people who are just born to do it. But never read a comic in their lives, and they still say they're studying the medium. I don't see how that goes hand in hand. I'm studying film, but I've never seen a film. Doesn't make any sense to me. I don't think that's possible. That might just be the phrasing you used. That's not communicating what you meant to me. But I don't think that's possible. I do think it's possible to create something amazing without actually having studied the medium. I think that's 100%. I think there are natural born talents. Just like there's musicians who don't know anything about classical musical theory that are just absolutely incredible at what they do. I think that's possible. I don't think you could study without studying, is basically what I'm saying. Now, that might, again, it might have just been your phrasing. But me, fucking read, man. Some people, again, like, that's a possibility. That was one of the comments I made in the Elixirs. Like, they need to read more comics and more manga, so they understand these conventions that have been ground again and again for years. 9 panels to 13 panels are a rarity. It's something you use for a very specific reason. Again, if you do it as the basis of your work, which that comic was, it becomes incomprehensible. There's no room for breathing for the reader, and they don't understand what's going on scene to scene because so much is happening. And in that case, like, so much was happening and like nothing was happening. You want your books to have big, grand moments with room to breathe and appreciate those moments. Otherwise, they are forgotten, and then your short-term memory just blends it. It felt like Montage the comic. And would you want to watch a film that was nothing but a montage? You don't even get a setup to the montage. It's just, boom, you're in a montage. Boom, you end with a montage. No, even with beautiful imagery, which this had, wonderful artistry, and I think there wasn't one panel that was laid out poorly or boringly. Like a lot of 9-panel pages are just a bunch of fucking rectangles stepped on top, stacked on top of each other. Not Elixir. This artist, like, he knew he needed to make these pages interesting. And his layouts are great. The problem is, like, those layouts should have only appeared, once or twice in the book, not 32 times, right? Not every page. So again, I'd watch that quickie if you want to see a unique mistake that I've never seen another indie creator make, which is kind of crazy. And I think it may have come from not studying the medium. Just thinking, this is how it needs to be done, is how I want it to be done. Again, it's a very unique reading experience, one that I would call very poor, but it was super unique. I've never read anything like it. The less time we have, the more we'll have to sacrifice some arcs we have in our scripts. That's the bingo. Jack originally was going to have like 5 arcs, and I'm going to do these 2 at most, and then we are transitioning to something grander. Something, again, more value per inch. Need more Wrath quickies, just don't start with walking where giants have. Almost gave me a heart attack. I gotcha. I've got issue 3 there, and if I haven't done 2 yet, which is possible, I'll do 2 next. I'm going to get back on the quickies train. I wanted to do Elixir because I've got an interview with Armin tomorrow. And so I wanted to lay it on the line so he can talk to me directly about it. And hopefully I can provide him some value and he can provide me some insight. So there's a good exchange, right? That's all I want. I think he is a super dedicated creator. I think he is super enthusiastic. I think his energy that he brings when he's trying to sell or crowdfund a work is incredible. I think he's got the business end of it locked down very well. It's the finesse of the artistry that I think he needs practice on, which is all of us do. Some of us do all right the first time, but still need practice. Some of us do all right, try to learn, mess up the second time, third time they do better. That's kind of what I did. There's different ways, but that's why I do the quickies, because I don't think it's really easy for indie creators to either get a bunch of fans that are the word sycophants. I can't stand that. I can't stand sycophantic fans. I can't stand people who treat like these creators can do no wrong. It disgusts me. It degrades the entirety of the medium. Ooh! Dance party over. Dance party over. VoiceBot her disgusts me as something else, and so you guys got that for free. Enjoy that. Hope your ears enjoyed that. It's part of the fun and the chaos of these streams now. I guess you were right not to back this. Your comic had about 8 panels per page, many of them not all, but very different shapes. If done right, it allows you to tell a lot of stories. So, Infinity, I disagree. Often what you can do in 4 panels, you can do in 1. That's the point of using the visual part of the medium. Concise storytelling is powerful storytelling. 8 panels ain't bad. 8 panels ain't bad. I recommend 3 to 6. Manga will do 2 to 6 primarily. Western comics will do 3 to 8 primarily, with airing towards 6. 6 is about the sweet spot for a good paced page. Now, you could fill that page, like I've done many times, with a bunch of bullshit. You could have a reader spend a minute on a page compared to 20 seconds. Whereas, check out Berserk. It'll have 5 or 6 pages in a row, nothing but action, but it'll have, between 3 and 6 pages per, and you tear through those 6 pages, but every moment, every movement, every communication that Miura was trying to put forward, you feel. It's visceral and strong. It is storytelling through the visual medium. And that's where comic writers need to understand the medium better. Mainstream writers like Tom King, they get so they're so self-conscious about their own writing and their rhythm with their artist that they will just puke on the page, just nothing but nonsense, just to fill the page because I needed to say this because it wasn't going to be strong enough. And as a reader, I feel that, and I really dislike it. And I think a lot of other readers dislike it as well. I am very much leaning towards economy of action leads towards more power in your storytelling. And Miora's wonderful at it. Fucking Mignola has been really good at it. There's a lot of creators that are really good at it. Jonathan Hickman's terrible at it. But what he does instead is he weaves political intrigue, relationships, and human interactions into something interesting like a soap opera. That's not my deal, but that's a lot of people's deals. And that's a different approach to it that does allow more verbosity, more wording, right? Closer to what I've been doing, which is more narrative-based in terms of someone speaking. More narrator-based, not narrative-based, narrator-based. Which I've changed with issue 4 significantly. I've pivoted with issue 4, hopefully, pretty damn well to closer to the kind of stories I enjoy and I feel like I need to tell. Cheers, bro. Yes. No, that's exactly what you meant. You're on a university course studying comics. Many of them have never actually read a comic before this course. They call themselves dyslexic. Oh, I am dyslexic. You'll see it again and again in my tweets. You'll see it again and again in like my rough scripts. My brain doesn't care what order the letters are in, just that the letters are there. So I don't make spelling mistakes in that the letters are missing or spelled wrong all the time. Usually you'll find that I make spelling mistakes in that my brain didn't care what order they were. And so it just flopped it all around. Part of the reason I talked about this earlier is I have a Dark Horse printing of Akira, and Otomo, of course, originally released it in Japan, and so it read right to left. Dark Horse around this time, we still called anime Japanimation, right? It was this niche thing, very niche, very, very, very niche. And so Dark Horse decided we're going to flip these pages. They did that to Dragon Ball. They did that to a lot of the early manga that was coming over here and being called, Japanese comics. They were being formatted like single issues, right? Viz, they were being printed larger. They were trying to be comics, Western comics instead of manga. Akira's so hard to read. It is so hard to read because my brain's used to reading right to left or left to right. It doesn't matter to me anymore. But trying to read something that's supposed to be right to left that was then flipped left to right, the lettering and so much of it just like it's so rough. It's so rough and it's such a beautiful work. I'm gonna have to force to it. Brainstorm, exactly. Brainstorming, as he says. Anywho, that's the thing is I wanna, with my limited time here, I'm not going to be able to make 6 series. When I started, had it exploded, I'd be able to make 6 series. But now that I'm in the grind, I'm in the motion, and I've seen the peers and the people I admire do the work they feel they need to do, how they need to do it, what I've found is what I need to do is I need to make a One Piece, a Berserk, not a Thor. Not a Captain America, not a Batman, which is what I started out doing. Is I was going to make a Batman, I was going to make a Superman, I was going to make a bunch of defined characters who do their own thing, but then build to this bigger like Avengers or Justice League style storytelling. That's not going to work. It's not going to work. It never works for a single creator, and I should have realized that, but I was very naive. So again, I want to get to issue number 6. Use issue number 6 as the transitionary period to something more, something with more creative potential in the universe we've created together at IronVerse Comics. Again, One Piece, you can say it's a tale of Luffy, but it's very much not. It's a tale about Luffy and all the people who found him as family and the lessons and ideals that their lives can show you. Berserk, you can say it's about guts, but it's also about the struggles and trials and the humanity that he's experienced around him, and the darkness that he's experienced around, very much the darkness and the struggle to move through it. Jack, so far, it's very much been about him. His experiences, sure, but about him, and that is not the playground that'll allow me in the time I have to communicate what I need to you wonderful people. It comes close, but it ain't gonna do it. Alright, take care, Scott K. I'll catch you later. Oh, howdy, Arno. Welcome back. You missed most of what we were talking about. I'm going to turn on Robot Lady, so it'll catch Arno up. And I'm going to get another drink while Robot Lady is catching you folks up. So enjoy the standby screen and the stream playlist and Robot Lady. So here we go, stream playlist. What do we got? Some good. Come on. Entertain the people. Why can't I hear it? There it is. Oh, because it's that. And it's something entertaining. Because I gotta go get another shot. You're just not gonna play a track now. Did I anger you, band leader, by skipping the song you wanted to play? Oh. It's too quiet. That's why. We'll find a track. Sure. Alright. Robo Lady, take it away.
David Schmeling.
I'll be back.
Said. The less time we have, the more we'll have to sacrifice some arcs we have in our scripts. Scott K. Said. Need more Wrath quickies. Just don't start with walking where giants have. Almost gave me a heart attack. Infinity Comics. Said. I guess I was right to not back this face with tears of joy. My comic had about 8 panels per page. Many of them, not all, but very different shapes. BTW. If done right, it allows you to tell a lot of story. Jake Concha. Said. Cheers, bro. Infinity Comics. Said. No, that's exactly what I meant. I'm on a university course studying comics. Many of them have never actually read a comic before this course. They call themselves dyslexic. Jake Concha. Said. Fun. Jake Concha. Said. Arrow. Scott K. Said. Like Brian Stroming. Scott K. Said. Off the clock. Talk to you later, Cody. David Schmeling. Said. See ya, Scott. Arno Lopez. Said. Hi guys. Laughing face.
Howdy.
David Schmeling. Said. Howdy Arno. Jake Concha. Said. Have a good one,
Did I
Cody.
sound like I was leaving?
Infinity Comics.
I
Said.
was just taking a minute.
Bye.
I was letting Robo Lady do her job and take care of you folks while I went and got more drink.
Infinity Comics. Said.
No, I guess I communicated it that way.
Are you not ending the stream?
No.
Face with tears of joy.
No, not at all. I must have communicated it that way. Lost half the viewership. Yes! That's what we do around here. There's a couple ways I can lose the rest of the viewership. Should I do them? But no, I'm here to hang. I communicated most of what I wanted to talk about in that the structuring of Western comics as an indie creator is probably a really bad idea for you to attempt. That's why miniseries work.
Infinity
That's why
Comics.
graphic novels work.
Said.
But ongoing
No, I
single
just
issues.
tuned out for a minute and I read the comments and thought it was ending.
I guess some folks did. I must have communicated that because I think Jake thought it was. A couple people said bye. No, I'm not going anywhere. I don't have anything else to do. Just letting my dog in and getting the bottle so the shots are more accessible, and seeing if there's anything else I need to talk about. But that was the main point. Was again the structure of. I'd rather make. Again, we'll talk about a Hickman series, East of West. I'd rather make an East of West than Superman at this point. No, I don't want to make an East of West at all. I think it's another one it's a soap opera, right? I'm not a soap opera kind of writer. I don't do that. I'd write adventure and I'd write thought pieces, but I can't write political intrigue. I can't write that kind of storytelling, the Game of Thrones kind of storytelling. That's just not who I am. That's not what I enjoy. But I could write an adventure with heartfelt character interaction that is much tougher to provide with Jack Iron Steel Cowboy as it is. So, again, my hope is to transition after issue 6 to something grander. Jack is still the foundation. The Recluse by Scott K is still part of the foundation. But these other series I had in mind are probably going to be integrated instead of
Infinity Comics
separated.
Said, I do believe though, going back to what we were saying, at 44 pages per comic at $25 per comic every 2 years, I do find a lot of value in putting a generous amount of panels on a page.
I disagree. I get it.
Infinity Comics.
But pacing's a thing,
said,
brother.
But if you can copy what you want with 3 to 6 panels, more power to you, smiley face.
So, again, I very much disagree. You do not want to cramp. It's not... Value is not derived by amount. Value is derived by quality. I have a million piles of shit, or I have 1 bar of gold. The shit might be worth something if you're a manure salesman, but the bar of gold's worth more to more people. So I completely disagree. I think you don't want to do a bunch of 1-page spreads either. That would be dumb as hell. You're doing a children's book in that case, but it still would have better pacing than Elixir did. Dr. Seuss has significantly better pacing than Elixir did. Pacing, flow, important to storytelling. Elixir lost me because it jammed too much in. And I don't mean too much in terms of like amount of storytelling. I mean too much in terms of how it was fragmented. It split so much of what it could have conveyed in 2 or 3 panels into 3 or 4.
Said, pacing is very true. But pacing is not dictated by the page. It's dictated by the images as well as the text. Read my comic when it comes out, and let's see if you enjoy it.
The images
Smiley
and the text
face.
are
David
part of the
Schmeling
page.
Said,
Infinity.
a good example is my
There is no
Hero
image or
Academia.
text without the
3
page.
characters can do different things on 1 page, whereas other comics and manga need 1 page per character action.
Yep. Berserk, there's wonderful transitions where there's 2 storylines going on at the same time. It's not quantity, it's quality. I believed when I was going to Elixir that there was a chance that this 9 panels per page could work. I'm not saying it's impossible. I don't believe anything is impossible in art. I'm saying it's unconventional, usually for a reason. And in this case, it was... Take Punisher Max. It is fragmented writing. It is 1 or 2 sentences per panel from Garth Ennis. It's fragmented writing, but it's not 9 sentences fragmented per with actions that don't communicate well. It was very fragmented. I don't recommend it, Infinity. I really don't. If I was your editor, I would say, well, I mean, do what you want, but this, if you can condense it at all, you should, because it gives the artist more room to make a more interesting panel. If you're trying to cram 9 panels on a page, you see what Western mainstream artists do with that? They do the fucking rectangle. It's the same fucking head 9 times. Because that writer decided, I had to say this, and the artist couldn't make it interesting because they didn't have the space to do it. The best I can say is it's a risk you better understand you're taking, and you don't break the rules unless you know how to do them. You don't break convention unless you know how to do it. You're not trying to provide value by amount of storytelling. You're trying to provide value by quality of storytelling. In my opinion. Again, as an editor, as a writer, that's what I've learned in my experience. And that's what I would implore others to consider strongly. Because again, it's quality over quantity every time with stories. You can tell me a million shit stories and I'll hate you for it. You can tell me 1 really good story and I'll love you for it. And it's not, I'm saying per page. I'm saying how you structure a page is very important. And 9 panels work very rarely. 13 panels is...
Infinity Comics said,
I think Elixir
we
thought
know
that
how
too.
to do it though. That's what I'm saying, face with tears of joy, it's not elixir. You'll see what I mean.
I hope so. And all the best. All the best. And you damn right, if I receive it, I will do a quickies on it. I will tear it apart. As I hope people tear apart my work. The few reviews I've got, the worst headline of a review I've gotten was for Jack Irons issue 2, and it was, Jack Irons issue 2 is half of a good comic book. Ooh, that hurt. That hurt so bad. But then he explained it, and I fucking learned from it.
Said. Another example, when a character enters an inn, it is enough to just show it in 2 panels. We don't need to see every footstep in plenty of panels.
Well, that's the thing. Elixir did a lot of movements it didn't need to. It was very inefficient. Very inefficient. I appreciate efficient storytelling. Mangaka are much better at it than Western comic writers. But there are some. Again, Jeff Smith, he's very efficient with his work. And I very much appreciate it. That's why the ending of Tukey hit so hard. It's because there was so much more that he could have said had he given it enough time. Elixir, again, it cramps so much. Beautiful. Again, I love the line work. I'm really impressed. I can't convey it enough how good the layouts are from what he was probably given from the script. And the coloring works beautiful. The action is pretty, but there's just so much happening per page. There is just no way a reader can log it into short-term memory within the 10-20 seconds it takes to read it.
Said.
It's just biologically not possible.
David. But there are other things happening after the character enters the panel.
Oh,
and if we can get to that on page 1 instead of page 2, I say let's.
I say if we can not do it at all and get to something more important, don't do it. Like establishing shots, wonderful. I use them. I think they're great. You don't need to show the footsteps unless you're trying to set a mood, set a tone. Showing the footsteps again, as he said. One panel can do that.
I have done the same mistakes too. And in some cases I had no choice.
That's the big
face with
thing.
Open mouth and cold sweat. Infinity Comics. Said. That's what I'm saying too, Cody.
I think where the discussion is that I think most communication per page can be done between 3 and 6 panels. In like all cases, and if you're doing more than that,
Infinity Comics.
It better have a reason, and it better be
I'm talking
very
about
rare.
moving the plot forward faster when possible.
But if you're doing that in more panels, you're doing that slower. More panels is slower. It's fragmented. It's breaking up a simple idea into more ideas most of the time. Now, that's most of the time. I'm not saying it's with your work. I haven't seen it, right? I can't judge what I haven't seen. With Elixir, he was breaking up very simple ideas into many, many panels. Because he wanted to say something, a bunch of things. That, again, so the writing in Elixir, and watch the quickie, the writing, the word choice is wonderful. He is a good writer in terms of word choice and imagery. He's a bad comic writer because of pacing. Because of fragmentation and because of what the artist had to do to communicate.
Infinity Comics. Said. No, it's not. Because I'm putting more than one idea on the page. Getting to twice the amount of plot in half the amount of pages.
I'm not going to disagree that it can be done. I am going to say if you need twice the amount of plot in one page, and if you're doing it with multiple panels, it will be what I call a slog. Now, is that guaranteed? No. Of course not. Again, there's no guarantees. But man, I've out of everything I've ever read, I've never seen it work. Doesn't mean it can't. Doesn't mean you can't be the brave boy who can break convention and be super cool about it. Just means that, like, I think there are efficient ways to convey
Infinity
things
Comics
that allow pacing per page to be improved.
I'll prove you wrong, Cody. Ahaha.
I hope you do.
David Schmeling.
But if you don't, you'll hear it.
In my case, I couldn't shorten the scene without it being entirely changed. Luckily,
Yep.
as an indie creator, I could just add some more
That's what I'd say.
over length chapter.
That's what I would do.
Try to avoid that with the next one.
That's what I would do. If you have to convey twice the amount of plot in one page, I would split it into multiple pages if it can be communicated clearer. I'm not... quantity, again, does not equal... quantity does not equal quality. That being said, is it possible? Yes. I believe it is. Have I seen it? No. No. Never. Have I attempted to communicate too much per page? Many times. Issue number 2 is a big example. That half a good comic book is a great one. And that was that reader's experience with it. And since then, I've learned what I like, which is what a lot of readers like, which is good flow and pacing. And jamming a bunch of panels onto a page very rarely does that. But again, please prove me wrong. Please. I believe there's infinite potential in this medium. And that is an aspect of the infinite that I would love someone to convey. Absolutely. Absolutely. But I ain't going to do that. I learned not to. I learned that if you can put some efficiency in the image and allow the artist to pull the person into the mood more than you're talking, more than your plot, please let them. That was the thing. Like Elixir, we get one awesome page spread at the end.
Infinity Comics said, "The problem is that I have
so
to
do
pay
I.
my artist per page, not per panel. Ahaha. So if you want a longer comic, this can only be achieved by condensing panels. Not in a suffocating way, though."
Yeah, so Elixir probably had the same mistake, and they did it in a suffocating way. I pay per page as well, brother. And I'm on issue 4 for a reason. I would say, I would hope.
Neostar Productions said, "I'm glad I was able to get one Reserman comic done. I'm hoping these next couple of issues will be just as entertaining, if not more so."
I hope so too. I need to read that, and I actually wanted to do a quickie on it because I love Mrs. H so very much. She's a great person, and she's continuously grown artistically, and I love seeing it.
Infinity Comics said, "Oh, I know, bro. Face with tears of joy broke life."
Yes, so much broke life. That's the thing, right? Again, it cost $10K to produce the line art, colors, lettering for Jack Irons. I don't take anything. So per page, that's 32 pages, and a cover, which I pay double rate for my artists for the cover. That also does include the logo work, which I have another person who does the logo and dressing work. And so, trust me when I say I understand paying per page, and trust me when I say I understand wanting to tell a lot of story in that page because of that. But I've learned that it's better to tell a
Neostar
story
Productions
well than to tell a
said,
lot of story.
"Facts." Infinity Comics
All right,
said,
you take care, man.
"Anyway, going to bed now. Smiley face.
Thank
Have
you.
a good one, guys. Always enjoy the convo here."
I enjoy you stopping by, Infinity. Thank you so much. And please, I can't wait for you to prove it. I cannot wait. Again, prove the infinite potential of sequential art. Please do. We need you to. Have a wonderful evening. Sleep well, all that good stuff.
David Schmeling said, "Good night."
So, we actually were able to focus pretty good on structuring and storytelling on this stream. I love it. I love when we can actually focus on the idea of the stream, so that I don't feel like I'm jipping people by wandering all the time. So, that's the thing, right? What I find with I hate to say it because I love so many comics, but I have become a manga fan because it provides more pound per inch on what it's trying to tell, and it allows the creator to tell it over a long period of time in a more direct way than comics as a medium
Neostar
has
Productions
almost ever
said.
allowed a creator
Night
to do.
Ink Finity. Waving hand sign.
Most creators, and I talked about this before, actually, and this connects to another stream I did where I was talking about Tukey and talking about Jeff Smith, is I had felt for a very long time that it was really cool that Jeff Smith did not compromise on his storytelling or what it meant to be an indie creator. With Tukey, he had to compromise for practicality. That was one of the first times I've seen him have to compromise. Most Western creators who are creating long-running series that are creator-owned, Todd McFarlane, God, what's his name? I don't like him. Savage Dragon guy, Eric Larson. Quite a few compromise in one way or another. Eric Larson ended up taking away the compromise, and I'm just gonna make what I want, even if it's like lolly porn. Which is what he fucking turned Savage Dragon into for a good chunk of time there. I don't know if it's still like that, but it definitely had like a 10-issue run that's what it basically was. Fucking disgusting, in my opinion. There's a fundamental structural difference, and one that I enjoy significantly more in one expression of the medium more than the other. I've realized that I need to pivot towards that, and that's kind of the point of the stream. If you're hearing weird noises, that is my dog playing with her squeaky pig toy. Well, go get it. You flung it across the room. Yeah, you go get that.
Neostar Productions said, I know what you mean, Cody.
Wow.
My original plan for the Skull Gang is to have each member get at least 3 stories to establish their character, motives, and their rapport with Reserman.
So my thing has been with my work is I wanted to establish Jack, and I did that in the first 3 issues. He's established. People might not understand it entirely, but it did its job. The next 3, it did its job in establishing the world as well, and a good chunk of the interactions between the societies in that world. It did its job. I did my job with the first 3. Whether or not they were really... Here's the pig. Go get it. But it's tough. It's tough.
Said. Another part of limited time is to accept mistakes that have been made.
Yes.
If I tried to fix everything I've already done, I would never move forward or get anything finished.
Director's cuts are anathema. No, sometimes they're really, really good. But the point being, with comics, right? Like, the only thing I've done to go back, because you can't really go back, is fix spelling errors. Or fix a setting placement, or put a setting placement and timeline thing so that the reader can better fit the structure of the history and the ongoing story in their mind. Like that I've been able to do with different printings, and it's been very cool. But I wouldn't do more than that. I've done all of that now with the first 3 issues. There's no need to do it again. They are primo now. They're what they should have been when they released, even though they went through so many. Like, I tried very hard for them to be primo at the release, but things get past you as a creator. I found any manga where they get past you as a reader. Howdy, Jake. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough, but
Jake Concha
there's a type of storytelling that I would rather do.
Neostar Productions
Significantly rather do.
Said, but I only have so much time and money.
Yes.
So instead I settled for an introduction story to establish each member and at least 2 more stories where Skulder teams up with a villain to fight Reserman. Neostar Productions
Pig Cowboy
said, Jack Irons, Pig Cowboy. Neostar Productions
Hi, Lita
said, Yo,
this
Jake.
dog. She is so bored and wanting to run around. I'm just glad you're having your own fun, miss. But yeah, if you hear honking, that's what it is. It's her and her piggo, and this action trailer movie soundtrack here. Can we get something funky? Give me something funky. We had a lot of great funky tracks the last stream. Like, I'll take some Mushishi tracks. One of them got falsely claimed, which pisses me off, too. Like, I'm fine when a track gets claimed by the person who owns it, but when it's claimed by somebody who does not own the track, that bothers me. I don't want to just put on the funk.
Jake Concha
That's what I want. That's what I want. He gets it.
Funk it up code.
So I can call one track that's really funky, but I want more funk. There's not enough funk tracks on here, though, to be fair, so it's hard to come by. So you know what? I'll fulfill my desire for the funk with this track, and then we'll figure it out from there. But yeah, I mean, Infinity has a point, and I'm glad he's brave to try and get pound per inch by panel per page. Wish him all the best on it.
Neostar Productions said, "Yeah, that was a mistake I made early on, Cody. I kept going back and rewriting Luzerman's origin script over and over again, instead of just putting the story out there."
Yeah, I don't do rewrites much at all.
Jake Concha said, "Doggy is jamming." Neostar Productions said, "We're not gonna write Shakespeare on our first go." Smiling face with open mouth and...
To be honest, we're not gonna write Shakespeare. Only Shakespeare could write Shakespeare. I'm gonna write Cody Fernandez, right? And it's a continual process in learning what that means to part of the stream was explaining what I've come to over the last, almost 5 years of doing this.
Neostar Productions said,
Technically,
multiple musical notes.
16.
I can dig it. Multiple musical notes.
Yes, multiple musical notes. But yeah, folks, that is the main point of all
David
this.
Schmeling
I just wanted to talk about that for a
said,
few.
"The reason why my story failed for 8 years is that I always tried to fix the mistakes I've found in prior pages. I never moved forward. This time, I push through and improve with each new chapter."
That's a big thing.
Jake Concha said, Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the thing, right? So there's a certain base level before you commit that you should, learn. I lucked out that my base level, thanks to our wonderful art team, was higher than a lot of people's. So I was able to commit to that basically from the start and allow myself to learn from it while the art just grows from a very good level, right? Mangaka, you'll see that. Again, the Black Swordsman arc isn't great in Berserk. It's good, but it isn't great. You don't like Guts at all. There's no reason to like him. He looks cool, I guess. But by the end of that, you see what he is and what he's trying to do, and so you kind of understand it. And then it goes to the Golden Age arc, and it fucking completely engrosses you. Just swallows you whole with what he is as a person, what's trying to be accomplished with the story. If Miura had simply not pushed through, a whole different problem. It's nice in volume 16, I want to say. It included the original first try of what Guts is. And it was really cool to see because it was just Fist of the North Star. Puck was established. He always liked Puck as the comedic relief. He liked the dichotomy between the dark black swordsman who's just going to kill everything and doesn't really give a shit with the happy-go-lucky little elf. Like, he had that established. He loved it. But it wasn't refined. But he got time to refine it. That's the point of the mangaka system, is that you'll present your one shot and
Arnold
you'll
Lopez
actually have...
said, laughing face.
You'll actually have editors who give a shit.
Neostar Productions said,
Yes. So Fist of the North Star, wonderful, just the greatest expression of a pure power fantasy ever put forward. I am such a fan. I can't wait to finish it this year. It's going to be nice. They're releasing the hardcovers and it finishes this year, which is cool. I'm going to be sad because I've been love collecting it, but it's cool I get to have it. But with Berserk, you can tell
said,
the experience.
UWA shock.
You are shock. That track does not get hit on YouTube so far, and it's actually part of my metal list, and it's come up a couple times, which is funny. Maybe I haven't played it long enough for it to get hit. I don't know, but it's kind of funny. Oh, and I did do the magic of Kenshiro also on this channel. It was a short video I did talking about why I really appreciate Kenshiro as a character. Um, it didn't get huge numbers, but it got good numbers for my channel, so I might continue that
Jake
series.
Concha said, Rat-ada, Ratata.
Not the Pokemon. Ra-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Yeah. Man, Fist of so good, so good. But you can watch the growth of these mangaka through their series. Same with Oda,
Neostar Productions
Takahashi,
said, You are shark.
Arakawa. You are shark, baby shark. So what I'd like is to be able to tell a tale like that. Jack has been like that, but again, it doesn't provide the freedom both in how I approach the business end and how I approach the storytelling end to do what I need to do. And so again, I'm going to be working towards that transition. The sooner I can have it happen, the better. But it's gonna, like all of my work, it's gonna happen when it, not when it happens, but when it needs to happen. So I'm being patient, but also planning the future. There's not going to be an arc 3 of Jack Irons the Steel Cowboy. There's going to be an arc 2, which we're working on right now. We just started, and there's going to be a continuation of Jack's story in a grander scale. But there's not going to be an arc 3 of Jack Irons Steel Cowboy. It's not practical. Um, it's not practical whatsoever, and it's not engrossing and rewarding for me as a creator as it could be. Um, Also, pivoting that allows a lot of different business options. Now, there's going to be a lot of time between 4 and 6 to see what happens with those current business options. That could change my perspective, but currently, this is the best way forward I can find. I think it's a good choice for me as a creator as well. So that being said, we talked about story structure. We talked about page structure for a good chunk of time, and there were different opinions in chat, which I appreciate. We talked about the limits of time, which was both within a story and within the practicality of life is super important. With Jack, his story spawns millennia, so it's very hard to tell much of that. So it might be better to transition to telling the most important parts of those millennia, which is what I've been doing, but in a more engaging and engulfing way. And that was a part of this that I wanted to talk about. I think that's what I'm going to try and do over the next couple years with this. We'll see how number 4 is accepted. It is a comic you will not find anybody else doing. I combined 2 very ancient tales that I don't. It was kind of arrogant of me to do, and hopefully it hits as well as I hope. And if it doesn't, I still like it's the story I need to tell in issue 4, so I'm fine with it. Issue 5, super intimidated by that script. I have to communicate pain. Both pain of loss, physical pain, emotional pain, in a heartfelt and honest way to a degree that could honor what this character means to me and just overall as an ideal. And it's super intimidating. But if I do it right, it's going to be like, I don't have to make comics after it. I'm very hopeful I get to. But like, if I can do number 5 right, then the message I needed to tell with Jack has been told in a smaller way than maybe I would have liked, but in a very in a way that would land as it needs to. And then issue 6 would be this transitionary issue, which will require a complete restructure of what I want to do with Jack. But I think it's the right choice. I want to make a new jumping on point for folks and make it more of an adventure tale akin to the titles that I am in love with. Whereas Jack has been kind of a meandering thought piece. Up until issue 4. Issue 4 we're starting more adventure storytelling, but up until issue 4 it's been kind of a meandering thought piece, which again, you won't find anywhere else, but isn't going to connect with as many people as I'd like the messages and ideals I want to communicate to connect with. It just there's more folks out there that could use Jack, and there's a better way to allow them to get a hold of him than what I've been doing. That being said, don't have much else to talk about this stream. We hit all the main points. I could talk more about page structure, right? But I think I kind of hammered it pretty good with the discussion with Infinity. I could talk more about story structure in terms of arcs, right? And making sure you're not rushing them or cramming them into a page, which is kind of what I talked about. But also just letting the reader breathe is a big one that I'm worried some new creators don't understand needs to happen. Uh, and we'll see. We'll see. Because breath per panel is literally how long you're able to look and absorb that panel. It's not what's in the panel. It's a big difference. But again, there's other ways to do it, so good on them if they're able to accomplish that. I think it's next to impossible. I don't know. I've got a shot to finish, but I don't really have anything else to communicate, folks. I did another stream earlier that would communicate anything else I want to talk about today. That stream, we talked about what I've been reading. We talked about the manga shortage. We talked about Berserk starting again with a new creative team, quote unquote new. It's not, which is really good, but it's sans Miura, right? So it's new. And we talked about One Piece finishing sooner than Oda maybe had actually thought it would. He's taking a month to restructure it, to finish it, as he put, as soon as possible, which worries me. I don't know if it's because maybe his health's declining, maybe he's tired, maybe he thinks he was going too long. But something had to be wrong for him to phrase it as soon as possible. Something had to bring it to the fore as like it needs to happen now. So I'm very curious, and we might hear something over the next couple months about why he's restructuring to finish sooner. Very odd. Yeah, right. I'll let Robo Lady say this.
David Schmeling said, "As far as I know, Oda originally wanted it to be 1,000 chapters long."
What, he's on like 125, something like that. Maybe up to 140. I haven't been following. I am not current on One Piece at all. And I know there was some big revelation that happened relatively recently, and the pics that I've seen are kind of spoilery. That can only allow me to infer. So nobody spoil where it is right now if you're current, please. I would like to one day get current with One Piece. I don't know if it's possible, but I would like to one day. I'm about halfway through the series, a little over halfway. So it's possible, I think. But I think something happened that kind of sucks, but if he did it right, then maybe it's really good. But again, I don't know if it happened or not. I'm just inferring from the images I've seen. Which sucks. I shouldn't see those images. I want to experience it as it was new, but it's very tough. Again, we're talking about the manga shortages. If you jumped on the app, maybe then I could have caught up, right? So it's my own deal for not reading digital. But anywho, I think 1,000 chapters was plenty. I think 1,000 chapters was plenty. It's like 100 and change volumes right now, so that's about 10 chapters a volume. The insane amount of work every week for 30 years. Again, mangaka are insane. Like, I want to tell a story like that, but I don't want to break myself like that. And considering the time left...
Neostar Productions said, "Man, I haven't even decided how Rezerman would end, much less when it would."
So I've spoken to
Smiling face
Dollar
with open
Coins
mouth and cold sweat
for years now. And we decided, years ago, how IronVerse Comics ends. And I really like it. I think it's if handled correctly, it is exactly how it needs to end. But quote unquote end, which is what I like about it as well. But at the same time, like, when is very fluid. But with how I am going to restructure things, it can occur much sooner.
Said, That amount of work,
just
insane eyes.
Just insane. Even with the assistants, even with that. I mean, that's his life. There was very little else. Miura, it was next to nothing else until he's like, fuck, I can't keep this up anymore. And then he would take hiatuses and
David
just do it as he could.
Said. And mangaka have assistants.
Yep.
We are often only one person trying to deal with even just half the amount of work.
Yep. In addition, though, those mangaka have publishers. They have publishing wings, marketing wings, toy wings, right? There's a lot of other aspects keeping the work alive. So the artist can primarily, if not entirely, focus on the art. We do not have that luxury whatsoever. Even if you have a title at Image, unless you're Todd McFarlane, right? You do not have that luxury whatsoever. The publisher just does not do the work for you like Eastern publishers do. It's a completely different beast. Western creators are pretty much abandoned by their publishers. They're lucky if the publisher provides a base, stupid low level of marketing for their title. They're lucky. So it's a very different beast. Mangaka can actually pour their whole heart and soul into the artistry because of that system, but at the same time they are demanded to pour their whole heart and soul into that beast because of that support. The publisher cannot afford to fuck around, right? Whereas a lot of Western publishers, they can afford to fuck around. They shouldn't. They shouldn't structure it that way, but they do. Quite often. Not always, but quite often. Like even Spawn is kind of fucking around right now. His universe and stuff, it's pretty. I mean, it could be so much more, but nonetheless, again, a story structure, right? Like Spawn was just a ongoing. That's all it was trying to be. I forgot what it hit 300 issues, something like that. So it's getting there, and Western issues are usually longer than Shonen Jump chapters. Particularly because of the difference in pacing as well. Again, we were talking about that. Western comics are so much slower. They're so much slower. Unless you're dealing with a cartoonist like Jeff Smith, which basically is the same pacing as most manga. There's some slow manga. There's slow manga burns, but it's rarer that they have the same kind of pacing issues that modern Western comics tend to. And again, I think that's because of editorial. But, yeah. We hit 2 hours. 12 more minutes. Yeah, I'll hang out another 12. I wish I had more to deliver to you. Again, I recommend checking out my IronVerse Quickie on Elixir if you were at all interested in more detail on what I thought about the choices made in that work. There was another. That's probably my comment. And I did another stream earlier if you're interested in my thoughts on the Berserk restarting and One Piece ending, on the manga shortages. It was very a manga-centric Cody or Coffee Cody comics. And it was a fun one. And then I also talked about one. Fun. I did that again. The funk. The funk. There it goes. Sometimes when I say fun, it thinks I say the other word. The band leader's trying his hardest. He's trying his heart and soul out. His digital zeros and ones are just doing their best. But yeah, I mean, I think we hit the primary thesis of this whole stream, which is story structure and limits of time. As creators, we only have our one life force, and if we're not explosive at a young age, there just is not enough time to tell any full potential of what we could offer. So you have to accept the potential you can create and manifest. And if you get lost in a rut on doing something one way for too long, I think you can end up in some trouble, which is what I'm feeling my particular work has hit. Not IronVerse Comics as a whole, but my particular work within that, which of course is a major structural part of IronVerse Comics, but at the same time is not the sole expression of it. For instance, Cactus Coyote, he has so many chapters of Dollar Coins. He has so many chapters of Cactus Coyote written. He has not wasted his time. Those things are ready to go if we get a chance. And he has it planned out from start to finish. He knows what arcs are going to be. He's just filling in space. You are Dollar!
David
I
Schmiller
mentioned, and he appears. I'm scared now.
At least I was able to tell my story to my best friend. I don't know whether I have to be worried now due to the context of Berserk's smiling face with open mouth and cold sweat. Dollar coins.
Maybe. Depends
Said,
if you want to go where Miura
I am
went.
Dollar.
I don't recommend anybody else go where Miura went. I really don't. I think he was a very rare
Dollar
exception
coins.
that he was able to accomplish what he
Said,
did, how he did.
My ears were burning like caveman SpongeBob.
I think so. I think so, man. I'm just talking about like you have spent your time more efficiently at IronVerse Comics than I have. Even though the manifestations have been fewer in terms of like out into the public, I think you have spent your time much more efficiently, and like you are ready for production on a long-term, quicker basis if that becomes a possibility. I do recommend you watch the beginning of the stream, Dollar Coins, but I'll fill you in on it down the line because it's kind of important. I want to restructure my creative end of IronVerse Comics in a way that is more fulfilling, more efficient, and delivers
Neostar
more
Productions. Said,
quality pound per inch
Yo.
than what I've been able to accomplish so far. And that will likely occur after issue 6, possibly sooner, but likely after issue 6, which is, next year, 2 years. I'd like to transition from a Jack Iron solo title into something, again, a bit more engrossing, something a bit grander, something able to tell more in less space compared to how we originally had this structured as multiple titles. I think that is proving to be extremely inefficient. At least my multiple titles, right? The ones I originally had planned. I think trying to be a Marvel is pretty dumb for an indie compared to trying to produce a more of, again, a One Piece, which is we've talked about many times. Something a little bit grander. So basically, I'm trying to get Jack to space sooner. Would be the shortest way to say it, and I think I know how. It's just gonna take time to allow the business stuff to fall into place one way or another. But yeah. Yep. Bingo. I'll let Robo Lady say it.
Dollar coins.
When she gets to it.
Said, yeah, it should work. Your aim is manga cast-esque like.
Exactly. So I'm thinking of using basically the first 2 arcs, but basically one arc of Jack Irons more as like the Black Swordsman arc in Berserk, which establishes character, establishes setting, it establishes mood, right? But then transitioning to, again, instead of going back in time like the Golden Age arc did, maybe going forward in time and making it a more engrossing, ongoing title instead of trying to jam Tracker, Golden Monk, Silverado into their own ongoings that merge and then separate again, and then merge and separate again, right? At our scale, at our production level, the more I've thought about it, the more I've realized how terribly inefficient and time-consuming it is to do it that way with the resources we have available, compared to doing it more in a conglomerated, grander fashion. Which would not interrupt what Scott and you are doing with The Recluse and Cactus Coyote. I don't think it would interrupt it at all. In fact, I think, if anything, it would reinforce it. But that's something we're going to have to figure out over the next couple years. See how issue 4 lands, how issue 5, which, again, I keep hyping up, and I hope people judge it as harsh as I'm going to have to. Issue 5 is the message I need to tell Jack. And then issue 6 would be the transitionary issue towards this grander scope of what IronVerse Comics is trying to express. But
Dollar coins.
We'll see.
Said, I would be done with Coyote if it wasn't for the damn Anu.
I know! You've been on that for a while. So that's part of it, right? So we'll have to figure that out. We'll have to figure that out. Yeah.
Dollar Coins
Yeah.
said. Lots of military books to read and finish.
Bingo, to give the proper flavor. Exactly. No, you're very right, and that's how it goes. So, anywho, if you're curious for more detail, I spent like the first 45 minutes of this stream talking about that. And then I spent part of the earlier stream also talking about it, because it's been in my head since I've read about 200, 250 chapters of manga in the last couple weeks.
Neostar Productions.
I think I've learned a little bit.
Said, I'm still trying to work dimensional travel into Reserman. Smiling face
That's
with
a bit
open mouth
too...
and cold sweat.
There's a ton of potential with Jack, and I don't want to squander that, but at the same time, like, that potential can actually be a hindrance if I'm not approaching it properly and using that as a tool properly. And I think I've been there's a lot of ways to put this that are filthy, but it's been a bit. It's been too much of a vanity project, and it's not accomplishing what it needs to. And I think a soft reboot, what I've been calling a rebirth, more like it, which is very much on the flavor of Jack, is something that could do a ton of good for IronVerse Comics, and I think could do a ton of good for me as a creator and storyteller. I think Jack is teaching me what it needs to. I think 5 and 6 will teach me the final lessons I need to learn from that to integrate it into something grander. Now, what that grander is, I have ideas. Dollar Coins has ideas, I'm certain, and we'll find the best path forward with that. I think there's some really cool stuff we could do, but I think there's a way to open up what we're doing in a way that is currently limited by the confines of our current structuring, both storytelling structuring, business structuring. And I think there's a lot of win-win scenarios if I do this right. So, anywho, that was part of what I was talking about.
Dollar Coins.
Yeah, exactly. We could do a pumpkin juice arc.
Pumpkin juice arc.
Gotta have that. And then we'll follow it with the squid juice arc. Gotta have that. So yeah, that was part of it. I had a good long discussion with Infinity about pacing. And I did an IronVerse Quickies today on a comic that had... it was the most fragmented comic I've ever read. So if you're curious about that, $2 coins, I think it's a worthy watch, because I've never seen a creator do this.
Neostar Productions said, not just for crossovers, mind you, but rather it's a core component to the world building of Reserman and how constantly disturbing time and space can have an effect on your dimensions.
Interesting. I hope it works out for you. Dimensional travel's been a possibility with IronVerse Comics forever, but again, and this comes back to it, efficiency, I think, is something I need to very much work on. And dimensional travel is a tool that can be used to efficiently talk about a very specific thing, but if it's used improperly, it is probably the most inefficient thing you can do. We've seen what big companies do with multiverses. And it can be really, really like bad. It can be one of the worst things for trying to put forward a specific thesis with your storytelling. So it depends on what kind of story you're trying to tell, right? And how you go about it, like any tool. Just use it properly. I don't think it's going to be necessary with IronVerse Comics. The only reason it would be is if I want to use Jackie Irons for something. And I do, but at the same time, like efficiency and use of time. And I at the moment, there's so much wasted time. All of these years, there has been so much wasted time for many reasons. And I'm kind of done with it. I have work to do. I want to get to that work. And so I have a plan to do that. I'm going to have to be patient to get to that. But once we do, I think that rebirth, that renewal will allow efficiency to do the job it needs to do. and hit the readers it needs to hit. So I'm excited for that. It's going to be a bit, but this was a stream kind of with a declaration of it, as was yesterday a little bit. And we'll see if I can do it. 3 issues if I can, 2 issues if I have to. Just this last issue if the business end somehow gets ugly. We'll see. At least something kicked forward on that business end
Dollar Coins
recently that hopefully will
said,
help.
Did you read Dollar Coin Trilogy yet?
I think just that opening, brother. I think just that opening. You might have to link me again. It's pretty dumb of me. I totally agree. I need to read that. It's kind of a duty that I have
Productions
shirked.
said,
yeah, just link me again.
No, not a multiverse. I'm not making any Reserman from multiple Earths.
I've talked about
Smiling
multiple
face
dimensions.
with open mouth and cold sweat.
Then you're talking about at the mathematical physical level, in which case you're talking about time at the 4th dimension. All time and space existing at once in the 5th dimension.
Take a shot every time Cody says efficiency.
Man, if I did that, I'd be dead right
and
now.
Cold sweat.
Because that's been like blatantly reading these chapters, reading these stories. They are exceedingly efficient. They have fun. They do what they need to. They have some. Again, they have great fun. They have great in Berserk's case, they have a lot of God, what's the word? Something with a V, and it means disgust and horror. Vicious is close, but it's not the word.
I've to go now.
Viscerality.
It was a fun conversation to have. See you later, everyone.
Take care, Mr. Schmeling. Always welcome. Thank you for stopping by.
Neostar Productions said, did you read Reserman vs Torpedotron?
Not yet. When I do, I'm going
Grinning face
to
with
attempt to do
eyes.
a quickie on it as well. So prepare yourself. Again, I try to not pull any punches. You're going to get 100% direct honesty from me in any of my quickies. How much I appreciate folks factors in, but I tell that in the context, and then I just lay you flat if I have to. Because, again, the indie editor's touch is either non-existent or gentle, just so fucking gentle that it doesn't matter. Yeah, no, I'm gonna hit you with I'm gonna hit anybody I do a quickie on with the full on, like, this is what I'd want to tell you.
Neostar Productions said,
if it was
see
my
you,
business and
David.
my work,
waving
my
hand sign,
name on the
smiling face
line,
with sunglasses.
yeah, that's what you're gonna get. Whether or not you agree with me, that's your creative, you're able to do that, but you're gonna hear it. Just like Mrs. H, I felt bad doing it, but I had to. That's just what it is. If I don't, I'm dishonoring the work, and too many editors dishonor the work. Yeah, no, I have not. There it is. Got the link. Thank you, Dollar. Yeah, I hope people learn from it. I try to be kind. I'm not. I don't think I tear
be
apart.
As blunt as you need to, Cody.
I don't think I tear apart
Smiling
works.
face with sunglasses, thumbs up sign.
I think I looked at a bunch of broken glass and point out where it's broken. If people say that's tearing it apart, no, it was already torn apart. I'm just pointing where a lot of other people may not. That it is torn apart.
Dollar Coins.
But we'll see.
Said.
We'll see.
Let's read it all on stream.
Oh, God. 76 pages. All on stream. 203 comic pages. That's a volume. That is a full manga volume. It's issues. Oh, no. It's issue 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's 8 issues. Spoil it all, Dollar Coins. I don't want to spoil it all. I mean, I'll spoil it all for me. I'll spoil it for our numerous amount of fans that watch these streams. The hundreds and hundreds. Straight face at that. Also, I am not in the proper mindset to give it.
Dollar Coins.
I know.
Said.
I gotcha.
LOL, I'm joking.
We did
you
read.
You can do it on your own time.
We did read the first chapter on stream, if I remember right, not too long ago, because I do remember this, and it was awesome. I forgot. You stole the opening from something, right? It don't matter.
Dollar Coins
It's true.
said,
The shoot up a Wonder Jack don't
well,
really
it's an
matter
origin
either.
story, so it's like episode 0. It don't matter.
Yeah, I get you there. Yeah, no, we did read this one on stream. Ooh, apologies. Been up for a while. It's a weird night. But yeah, no, I can start. I will leave this open and I will get to it soon. I need to. You've asked God 5 times at this rate. It's me neglecting my duty, which I don't like to do. Plus, it's always entertaining. I love your scripts. So
Dollar Coins said, well, you can wait. Anu arc is before this one.
Yep, either one. But you know what? It's here. I should read it. Again, every one I've been superbly entertained by. Again, folks are sleeping on the work you've already put out. And man, they have no idea what's in store for them. They have no idea. And I'm so excited to get there. And we need to get there. Again, that was 1 volume, 206 pages, folks. Again, are you at 13 arcs? 13 to 18 arcs? Something like that? Mad lad! Again, he's using his time more efficiently for his storytelling than I am capable of. But I want to change that a little bit. And again, I'm going to work towards it. Glass Cowboy. I hope we're not a glass cannon, but it kind of feels like that way recently.
Neostar Productions said,
just one big boom
Jack
and it all
Irons,
shatters.
Glass Cowboy. Dollar Coins said, this script was stupid hard cause I was adapting a movie.
I remember that. Yeah. Oh my God. And not a very long, complicated movie either, right? So you kind of had plenty of room to fill in the Dollar Coins and Coyote personality. But at the same time, you had to do it right? Like, I can imagine, but I don't think I'd be capable of repeating that. Let me see. Some point, too, there's another efficient use of time that I want to partner with you on Dollar Coins at some point, just so it's in our back catalog were something awesome and some opportunity to occur. But we'll talk about that another time. I bet you can guess what it is, though. But anywho, folks, let's see. Do we hit the 2? We hit 206. All right. I'm probably going to call it because I am meandering like crazy. And we did hit the point. And I would like people to actually watch this and get that point. So it doesn't need to be 4 or 5 hours. So yeah, folks, thank you for joining me. I'm Cody with IronVerse Comics, as always. And I hope we hit the main thesis of this again and again. We watched the Sandman trailer, which I
Dollar Coins
told folks
said,
I wouldn't have much to say.
I had to do this first before the Anu arc because the Anu has the Fox Pirates center stage, and Dollar Coins arc sort of starts at their origin story as well.
Yeah, see, you're working backwards, which is really smart to do.
Dollar Coins
I'm also not good at that.
Said, elbow bump, virtual hug, social dist.
Like, here's this cool idea. How can I make it work? By establishing things prior. It's very neat thinking in story structure that I need so much practice. And what I'm doing right now not only does not inspire me to that practice, but I don't feel is necessary. And that's probably why it doesn't inspire me to practice it, right? But this other thing I'm working towards would require it. And I think again, that's a more efficient use of time. Anywho, folks, thank you so much. I'm Cody, IronVerse Comics. Check out the other stuff. Do all the good stuff. Like, sub, share, if you would. Comment later if you watch this later, please. Anything to help us beat that machine and get in that algorithm and see if anybody actually is interested in this work. Because that would be swell. And I will catch you folks on down that. Rusty, IronVerse Comics Trail. I haven't heard that sign off for a long time. I haven't used it for a very long time. Been using Adios Amigos and Vaya con Dios, which more important to say, but kind of missed that tagline. Anywho, later, folks.
Neostar Production. Jack Iron.